Hey, vinyl community, it's Dave here coming to you again from fabulous Piano Revival. Here with the 2025 vinyl tag put together by Pretty Green Vinyl Guy. So we're going to get right into it. First question, best purchase of 2024 was actually not a purchase at all because I got it for free. I work a part-time job. My co-worker Kathy came in on a Saturday. She is not scheduled to work on Saturday. She asked me to come out to the parking lot. I went out to the parking lot and her partner Ann was out there and they had opened up the back of her car and there was a pile of records back there. I was skeptical at first. Apparently Ann had found these in a shed. I went through the first bunch of them and there was some really destroyed Beatle albums, and then I kept on finding Bob Dylan albums. So I'm going to run through those real quick. They're over here. These are all 1960s Dylan albums. They are all 2 eyes. They are all in mono. And there was 6 of them, like I said before. So we got the freewheeling Bob Dylan. The times they are a-changin'. Bond on Bond. Now this is the first press. We have Claudine Longet in there. These are all 2-eye mono. Highway 61, this is actually was in really great condition. Surprisingly, you would think that this would be the beat up one, but it's not. Bringing it on home, and then finally the best part of the whole thing, Dylan's first album. Little used, but for Dylan's first album, I will take it. I also got 2 Supremes albums, the first 2 Four Tops albums, and a Dusty Springfield album. So I asked them once I was all done going through the pile how much they wanted, and she just said, you can just have them. And believe me, a couple of weeks later, I got her a really nice bottle and gifted that to her back for these wonderful free Bob Dylan albums. So that was my best purchase of 2024. 50 years later, the best album from 1974. 74 wasn't particularly a very good music year. I went through a lot of these records looking through something good, and a lot of them, I don't know, they're okay. But I did find these 2 probably the best ones. Robert Trower's classic Bridge of Sighs. Everybody knows this album. 2 Rolling Stone, Day of the Eagle, Fool and I. This is a great album. And also from 1974, Blue Oyster Cult, Secret Treaties, has Career of Evil, Subhuman, Dominant Submission. Probably Blue Oyster Cult's best album. Moving right along here, an album that defines a genre. You couldn't get much more 80s power pop than the Bangles All Over the Place. Their first, well, technically their second album, but their first major release. This album is great from beginning to end. It's awesome. This is my original copy that I bought back when this first came out. I actually saw them play at the Orpheum Theater. I was in the second row. It was very memorable. So an album that defines a genre, 80s power pop, it's got to be this one. Now the next question is, the best band from your home country. Now, I live in obviously the USA, so I'm going to take this question as the best band from my neck of the woods. And I live right outside of Boston, so that gives me a ton of choices. But I'm going to throw a little love on the J. Giles Band. Don't really get a lot of notice or whatever. So these are probably 3 of the better albums that they put out. The Atlantic years were their best ones. After 1977, they went to EMI, became more poppy. But you got to give them credit for changing their sound and changing with the times and still staying relevant. But you have the Blow Your Face Out live album, probably one of the greatest live albums of all time. This just goes on and on. It's just so good. And then their first live album is the J. Geils Live Full House. Side one of this, just incredible. They just destroy this place. And probably one of their biggest commercial successes was Bloodshot 1973. There was a slew of hits on this album. Nothing But a House Party, Make Up Your Mind, Southside Shuffle, except the whole thing was just full of hits. So the J. Geils Band, probably the best band from my neck of the woods, which would be Boston, considering it is Aerosmith, Boston, etc., etc. These guys rank right up there. All right? An artist you miss dearly. Well, I'm going to go with Tommy Bolin. Passed away when he was 25 years old. He was a real talent. He only made about 5 records in his lifetime. This was his first solo album. This is just so good. Beginning to end, just excellent. Very, very good. Solid. Very solid. He was a terrific guitar player and songwriter. Very good singer. This was his first major label debut. This isn't quite as strong as this one, but side one is really good. Now, he replaced Joe Walsh in the James Gang. They put out this one album. This is really good too. And he also replaced in Deep Purple Richie Blackmore. So he replaced. So I mean, the guy could play. And in the middle of it, he was able to put out a stunningly great jazz fusion album with Billy Cobham, Spectrum. This album is really, really good. He just, you know, to think about what he could have done later on in his life, or, you know, it was just sort of a, I don't know, just cut short because of, you know, drugs, basically. So, but a real shame. Okay, we're going to go over to the other side here. I know all you people like to see me walk around in this wonderful place, Piano Revival. I'm going to go over here. Okay, the next question on our list is the best live album in your collection. Now, I have a bunch of live albums, but I'm going to go with Social Distortion, live at the Roxy. This album post-punk, I guess you'd call this, or post-punk power pop, maybe. But it just starts out the story of my life, bad luck. Runs through all these great songs, and then it finally finishes up with a blistering version of Ring of Fire. Just incredible. Really great. So this is a really great live album. Okay, the next question is, your partner just left you. What are you going to be putting on? So I've got to go with Johnny Paycheck. Take This Job and Shove It. The title track on this, his woman left him and took all the reason that he was working for. So he's just going to say, take this job and shove it. There's also a bunch of really great drinking songs on this. Barstool Mountain is a standout, and also Colorado Kool-Aid. Another talent that was just maybe left us too soon. He unfortunately was addicted to cocaine, ended up stabbing a guy in a bar, and was sent to prison for quite a while. Died penniless. Waylon Jennings and his former road manager chipped in and bought a headstone for him. There was no stone on his grave. So, but yep, that's what I'm going to be putting on if if my partner would take this job and shove it. Okay, the next question is the best sounding drums. I'm going to go with Roger Daltrey, Under a Raging Moon, a tribute to Keith Moon. The title track of this, the last song on side 2, features 9 drummers all playing on one song. And those would be Martin Chambers, Roger Taylor, Cozy Powell, Stuart Copeland, Zach Starkey, Carl Palmer, and the member of Roger Daltrey's solo band, Mark Berinsky. And then the outro, which is the very end of this, has Berinsky and Zach Starkey just battling it out between the two of them. It's a terrific song. The drums sounded really good on this. I do throw this on from time to time. Actually, side 2 is really strong. So, best drums, Roger Daltrey, Under a Raging Moon. Okay, the artist has been in 2 or more bands. I'm going to have to go with Steve Winwood. This is a comp. I picked it up at a thrift store many years ago for 50 cents. Has the Spencer Davis Group, Traffic, and of course, Blind Faith, all gathered up and put on this these 2 records here. And then, of course, he had an extremely successful solo career after this. So, Steve Winwood, a guy who was in actually 3, really 4, if you want to count a solo effort, bands. Terrific singer. So, Steve Winwood, gonna go with that. Okay. Beatles or Stones? All right, I've seen a number of these videos so far, and pretty much everybody has gone with the Beatles. This is their first album. This is actually, I'm not even going to call this a bootleg. It's a fake album is what it is. This is not real. It's not pressed very well. But if I'm going to play the Beatles, this is pretty much what I'm going to listen to, is their really early stuff. I picked up this other album, which has most of the songs on this, so this sounds way better. The early Beatles, and then I have this one here, which is the second album, which is She Loved Roll Over Beethoven, She Loves You, Yeah, Yeah, Yeah. So I have all of the Beatles U.S. releases, all of them. But I really don't hardly ever play them, except for these earlier ones. Now the Stones, I have a lot of Stones out, but I don't have them all. This is a 100% bootleg. I think any self-respecting Rolling Stones collector has to have at least one of these in their collection. This is a double album set, and the sound quality in this is really good. I'm going to show the label real quick. Wizardo Records live recorded, and it doesn't say Rolling Stones anywhere on this record, but there is a unbelievable version of it'll come to me. But the whole thing is really good. I believe this is probably recorded in Europe. It sounds like it came off a soundboard, yep, there we go. But this sounds really good. So I'm going to go with, give it a choice between the Stones and the Beatles. I am going to go with the Stones. Okay, next question. If I found a bag of weed laying on the street, of course I don't have to do that because there's a dispensary 2 blocks away from here. What am I gonna do? What am I gonna listen to? Well, that's a no-brainer. Have a Marijuana by David Peel in the Lower East Side. A New York street musician who gained some notoriety. All these songs are all about smoking weed, pretty much. Let's smoke some grass, up against the wall. So I'm going to say this. I'm going to listen to this and smoke some more weed. All right, an 80s album that you still listen to, going back to power pop from the 80s, the Hoodoo Gurus. Just a fabulous band. this by far their best album. I've gotten some more of their records, but this one heads and shoulders above all the rest of them. This is just awesome. I saw these guys twice back in the day, and they did this whole album both times I saw them. So this is going to be an album from the 80s that I still listen to. Actually, I listen to it quite a bit. All right, now the next one is the favorite label. Now, I saw a number of different people interpreting this a number of different ways. Favorite label being Columbia or Reprise or Capitol, whatever. Personally, I kind of interpret it as the artwork that's actually on the label. So I want to just show this one real quick. I got this with a pile of records from a guy, a pile of not so good records from a guy a long time ago, gave me some records, and just the epitome, absolute peak of disco mania. This record just, it's disco, I don't know what you want to call it, greatness, fabulous record. Recorded in Philadelphia at Sigma Sound, which was a real famous recording studio. I mean, you can see they're decked out. I mean, you can't get any more 70s disco than what's on this album. Side 2 of this, it's, they get a shot of that. Arabian Nights medley, Istanbul. They resurrect that Istanbul, not Constantinople. Lawrence of Arabia. More Than Yesterday, Less Than Tomorrow, and then in a Persian Market, Show Me Your Dance. And this is, I believe this is about 15 minutes long, just flows from one song into another. But the label on this, I only saw one other record with this label on it. I thought it was so cool. Marlin with that ship. I'm assuming this was probably, whoops, got it upside down. Probably some short-lived label of some kind. I don't really know, but that artwork is just so good. I love it. It's awesome. And the other one I want to show real quick is a local band from Worcester area. They'll call Fat. God-awful name. Have no idea where they came up with that. I mean, you could have called yourselves, Male and the Men, or Street Pavers would have been better. But they did kind of blues rock, what it is. And this is the private press. I picked this up at a thrift store also, but the label on this is pretty cool. I'm going to show that real quick. Dream Merchant Records. Like I said, I'm assuming this is a private press. Probably 74, 75, something like that. Actually, the album is pretty good. Like I said, blues rock, kind of Foghat-ish is what I would call them. But anyway, okay, we're going to talk about a string of singles. A run of 3 great singles. Well, I'm going to talk about Freddie Fender. The real deal here, he was a Mexican immigrant, came to the U.S. when he was quite young, wanted to be a musician, ended up getting tossed in Angola prison in Louisiana on a trumped-up marijuana charge. The governor of Louisiana pardoned him. And he came out with a string of singles in the late 70s. He became a star. Came from nowhere. Since I Met You, Baby. I found this at a thrift store quite a while ago. Shrink and the little sticker on there was his first hit. And he followed that up with Before the Next Teardrop Falls. And all of these were crossover hits, so they were on the pop and the country charts. And then after that, he just had a smash hit with Wasted Days and Wasted Nights. Wasted days and wasted nights. I love that song. So Freddie Fender had a string of hits in the late 70s. All right, we're going to go with a record store purchase you actually listen to. I only have 2 record store day records. The nearest record store to me that participates in this is about 50 miles away. There's no record stores even anywhere close to my house, surprisingly enough. So I got 2, neither one of them I bought on record store day. One of them is not very good, so I'm going to show this other one. I do play this from time to time. Wall of Voodoo Live. I picked this up. Was it this? I believe it was this year. Vinyl Richie actually recommended this, and I found it. My wife found it online for me. So this is actually really good, and I do spin it. Not all the time, but I have done it, quite a bit. Okay, the next question is going to be, if you are reincarnated as any artist, dead or alive, who's it going to be? Well, I want to come back as Pete Townsend. I always liked the way he played guitar. Hey, he played at Woodstock. How cool was that? Survived the 60s, the 70s. He's still playing today. I love that windmill thing that he did. He was really the only person that could ever really successfully do that. So I'm going to say, yep, I want to come back as Pete Townsend. Okay. The best 3 lines of the song. Okay, I'm going to try and do this now. I'm going to try not to mess it up. Okay. I left a good job in the city, and I was working for the man every night and day. But I never lost 1 minute of sleep, worrying about the way things might have been. But that big wheel keeps on turning, and the Proud Mary keeps on churning. And we're rolling on the river. I got it out. Right, next question is an album I never get tired of. I'm going to say Nantucket Sleigh Ride by Mountain. Play this a lot. I love this album. I have 2 copies of it. One of the few records I have that I actually have 2 copies of. Every song is good. I never get tired of this. I played it a lot. So I'm going to say Mountain, Nantucket Sleigh Ride. Unfortunately, they got heavily into drugs, particularly Pappalardi. Their later stuff is just they kind of fell off a cliff after this. But I love this album. All right, and share your favorite vinyl community channel. I'm not going to. I think I missed one. I did miss one. An artist whose political stance has soured you. Now, I watched a lot of these videos, and the same suspects have come up over and over. Ted Nugent, Van Morrison, Morrissey, Melinda Murphy mentioned Gary Glitter, although he was a one-hit wonder. Personally, I was thinking about Kid Rock, although he's a washed-up has-been at this point. So I'm going to say just take all of them guys and put them on a desert island and just forget them forever. But it's not going to stop me from actually playing, Gary Glitter and Kid Rock. I don't even have anything, but I would play them anyway. But I'll still play the other ones and not really, I really don't care about that kind of stuff. I really don't. Okay, share your favorite VC channel. I don't really have a favorite. I'm just going to shout them all out. These are the ones I watch quite a bit. Cheap and Cheerful Record Collector, Melinda Murphy, JT's Record Room, Vinyl Richie, Capo Fetish, Norman Masloff, Super West, Channel 33 RPM, University of Vinyl, Robert Fitton, Noble Records, Mean Mr. Mayo, Sea of Tranquility, NTX Vinyl. Then there's 3 guys on the bottom of the list that are kind of MIA. Haven't seen any videos from any of these guys in quite a while, but I'm going to just say, hey, if you happen to watch this video, maybe I want to throw out another video just so we know you're still doing okay. Jeff Kempen, Dots and Loops, and Matt Sands. All right, that's going to do it for the 2025 Vinyl Tag. Thanks a lot for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one. Bye now.